Good night, everyone. Welcome to another conversation on the podcast Caribbean Thoughts. With me tonight is an individual that is recognized as a life coach, a transformational speaker, and an entrepreneur. She is a native of Kaba, Konji State, Nigeria, and a graduate of microbiology from the prestigious University of Jos, Nigeria. Toshin's core message of purpose is to teach against ignorance and mediocrity among young people. Dominating Toshin, as she is fondly addressed, is passionate about seeing people live extraordinary lives of excellence in whatever they do and wherever they find themselves. She is the founder of Transforming Lives Global Services, a personal and professional development institution that coaches people on real life subject matters that the average academic institution neglects. Example, financial literacy, mindset reformation, leadership, business education, purpose discovery, and lots more. Dominating Toshin considers herself a multi-talented fellow because she is a gifted writer, teacher, actress, and speaker. She is the author of the book God is Sharing Money, a book on financial literacy specifically targeted to Christians who are serving God day and night but are struggling financially. Toshin's Toshin opens the eyes to see principles of making money that they have been neglecting all the while. One of her favorite quotes in life is, "It is not what happens to you in life that matters. It is how you respond to what happened to you." So let's get right into it and enjoy the conversation. Well, I interacted a lot with your Facebook page, and I realized that you speak on the mind, and I would like to ask you. Uh, but one of the things that you said that really stuck with me is that our greatness is determined by the content and quality of our mind. So, do you think that there is evidence to support the claim that an individual's mindset can direct their life on other areas of their life, like the way they think, the way they perceive? Do you think it's important in directing the life to achieve success or meaning? Do you think that's possible?
Yes, I will keep saying it that the mind is one of the greatest gifts that God has given to us on earth. Someone said God gave us mind so that we can give him rest. Now, I have claims to back up what I just said right now, and I'm going to do that by telling a story. Now, this is actually a true life story, and it was recorded that a woman was once a mediocre, just an average woman. She just has a family, the husband and the kids, and she didn't really do much with her life. But a certain time came, she had an accident, and that accident left her in the hospital for some years. She lost memory of so many things that happened to her. In fact, when her children and her husband came to the hospital, it was recorded that she could hardly identify them. So when she left the hospital, she was curious. All human beings are curious. What happened to me? How can everybody say they know me, but I have no idea of who they are? And then she began to study. She began to make research. What happened? Who was I before? What is this phenomenon that I'm ailed with? And then from following those things, she became an entirely new person. Someone who was a mediocre before, who was just living an average life, who was just a housewife before, became someone who now made a global feat in science, because from her research, she was able to bring solutions to the problem she was faced with. So all of a sudden, her life changed. Why? Because everything that she processed here changed. And I have a similar story too. You know, in Africa, it's natural to be a negative thinker. It's natural to hear things like you can't make it here. That's what they tell you. That's what we all believe here. And that's why a lot of people are leaving the country. And I don't blame them in any way. But usually I tell them that no matter where you go, even when you go to USA or Canada, if you don't change your mindset, there's a limit to what you can amass for yourself. And the reason why a lot of our people make it over there is because when they go there, they mingle with people who think like the gods they are. Do you understand? Here in Africa, we always feel like there's always a village person that is doing us. There's always a witch that is limiting us. And we place so much power on such things. But when they go abroad and they hear less and less of witches and juju, you know, when they go there and they see the white people working, white people setting goals, white people making inventions and creating new things every time, they, you know, the environment changes their mind. And that's why some of them are able to pull in the results they pulled in. So by the time they travel back here, we look at them and be like, wow, that place is good for you. Wallace D. Wattle said it's not a matter of environment. If it was environment, everybody in a certain environment will be rich and everybody in a certain environment will be poor. In Nigeria here, we have rich people and we have poor people. And so also in the US, there are rich people there and there are poor people. So I know environment matters a lot. I know. I'm not disputing that fact. But they can place you in a place that has so many resources. Mm-hmm. And if you are not a resourceful person, or if you don't think with a resourceful mind, you cannot go far. So let me stop here.
And I totally, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's exactly, and that's what I'm trying to do with this conversation. That's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. I'm trying to find whether or not there are objective principles that if we follow those principles, we can move from, we can have social mobility or we can move from one place to the other. And what you just explained is spot on. It's perfect. And that's one of the things that I don't only believe in. And that's what I'm telling persons. When you are faced with principles, when you are faced with, like, persons don't have to believe in gravity for it to work. No matter your belief, gravity is going to work nevertheless. You can go on top of, you can go on top of a building and jump down, and you could believe that there is no gravity. Your result will always be going. You will always go downwards. And like what you explained, I believe that and I understand it to be a principle which guides life. And how it comes across, and like you said, environment, and I'm going to go with that point, that the environment is not what creates, because the environment plays a part. We have to understand that. When I studied the work of social psychosocial development theory of Erik Erikson, he spoke about reciprocal determinism, saying that the environment and the individual's behavior and on other aspects actually influence the individual. But we have to take it a step further. The individual has something called free will. We have the ability to choose between things, and that is the mindset. That is the interpretive structure, because the way we perceive
I am here on your podcast because I chose to do certain things. My father is not the richest man here. I'm not the richest from my state, but today I'm talking to someone from the Caribbean because I chose to do certain things. Exactly. I was resourceful with the little I had at my disposal.
Mm-hmm. And that's important. The way we perceive, and like you said, the way we perceive the world, we would call it your interpretive structure, we would call it your frame of reference, but it's simply saying the way you look at the world. You could look at the world in a negative way. You could look at the world like in a victim mentality. You can look at the world that nothing is going right. You can look at the world that, like you said, the evil is against me, and you can look at the world that way, and then it causes a feedback loop. The way you look at the world is the way that you behave. Now, if you look at the world in a more reaching manner, if you look at the world I don't want to be a pessimist, a positive, optimistic person, just saying, look at everything right. No, if there is a problem, you look at the problem. You don't stay on finding out why is there a problem. Okay, there is a problem. You find out what is the problem, and then you try to find solutions. But we have the
To the problem.
picture where we focus only on the problem. There is a problem, and that's all where we get to. There is a problem. What are we going to do about it? You're not thinking about that. There is a problem. Things are bad. I am poor. I am this. That's the problem. What is the solution? How can I strategize? How can I move? Like you said, when they go to America, and Denzel Washington said something that's brilliant. It's akin to what you said. He said, if you hang around the barber shop long enough, you will get a haircut. And another speaker said something similar to that. He said, if you are around 9 millionaires, it's almost impossible for you not to be the 10th one. So staying around people with the mindset that you need to move forward is very impactful. But you must take the personal responsibility to engage into to engage with the advice, the energy that is coming towards you. A lot of it has.
You have to first believe that it's even possible. You have to first believe, because there are people who work for rich people. You're hanging around their environments, but maybe after so many years, nothing happens in your life. You see, a man has been working for a rich person, maybe as his gardener or as his driver. He's around that person. But because he doesn't believe that it is possible for him, or he hasn't yet tapped into the energy around the rich man, he's yet to convert those realities into his own life.
So, going on that, staying on that point, what inspired? Tell me about your book. It's very interesting. I read a little. I haven't ordered it. It's in my cart to order it. I haven't ordered it, but I think I want to understand, and I think our viewers also would like to understand what inspired you. What was happening there when you decided to sit down and write this book? Talk to me about that process.
I have always loved to be free. And you and I know that one of the things that aid freedom is money. You cannot separate money from freedom. If you're going to have the liberty to go anywhere you want to go, be at any place you need to have money. And I looked at the level of poverty here in Africa. It's on the rise. But we also in Africa are the most religious people. We go to church. The average African man goes to church at least twice a week. Most of us serve God, we pay tithe. So why are we still poor? I believe God owns the universe, and the Bible says that he owns the gold and the silver. And when I'm reading my Bible, I see friends of God who were also rich, people like Abraham. Abraham was a very rich man. Isaac was a very rich man. These people never lacked. So why is it that in this age, we have people who are following God but are lacking? A lot of people come to me and ask me for money from time to time. I said, how long will we continue to hand you money? Because when I hand you money like that, you just use it to pay one bill. It doesn't solve a long-term problem. And so I sat down and I asked God and I said, what really is the problem? How can you make your people rich? These people are serving you. These people they love you. How can you make them struggle less? And he began to speak to my spirit about a lot of things when it comes to finances. A lot of people believe that finances, you pray, oh God, just send me this money. And there's a line in the book that I said, how long would you continue to pray for your next bill? You want to pay your school fees, you're praying, God, send me my school fees. You want to pay your house rent, you're praying, oh Lord, send me my house rent. When will you begin to pray for big things? We don't think big here. We're just thinking about the next meal, the next house rent, the next. No, that's not how you're supposed to live life. And that's why I named the book, God is Sharing Money. God has not stopped sharing money. He has been doing that for a very long time. And also in the book, I listed the principles that a person like Solomon used to create wealth. Because the Bible recorded that he was one of the richest people in his time. So what can I learn from Solomon, a man who was close to God, who God gave wisdom? What can I learn about the principles of creating wealth? So I listed those things in the book. Again, I studied the lives of 10 of the richest men today in the world, people like Jeff Bezos, like Warren Buffett, like Mark Zuckerberg. And I made a table in the book, and I said, let us study what is significant, what is common among all these 10 men. And I listed them in the book. So the book is a complete package for anyone who has been wondering why he or she has been serving God, and it looks like he's struggling financially. You're going to learn a lot by reading that book. And trust me, it's not just by doing a particular thing. Don't worry, when you get a copy of the book, you get to see more of it.
I am interested already. I'm interested. And like you said something that I wanted to go really deep into, and it was that persons tend to pray for the next bill. Persons want to pray for the next bill, and persons, you find persons very religious, especially in the West. We are a Judeo-Christian society, and at what point did we move from rejecting living a fruitful life? And that's another way that I call success. Living a fruitful life, like you are able to create, and with your creation you have income, because I don't believe money comes without value. Money is attracted to value, really and truly. So
exactly.
At what mindset, where did we pick up that limiting mindset? Like, where did that limiting belief comes that we must always, because we behave like it. We might, because unconsciously, there are some things that are happening to us unconsciously that guides our life. And there's this psychoanalysis, Carl Jung. He's the father of analytical psychology. And he said that unless you make your unconscious conscious, it will lead your life, it will lead you your whole life, and you're going to think that it's fate. So what is in our unconscious, or the unconscious of our people, so to speak, that will allow us to view life in that manner? What frame of reference, what mindset, what like mental slavery that I'm judging it too harshly by calling it mental slavery. I'm not too sure, but I'm just speculatively speaking. What is that? What in there that is keeping us in that place?
Okay, I get your question. Well, let me start by saying that before I blame this on jobs. I kind of blame it on jobs, because if you study the way money was earned right from the beginning, where men were farmers or hunters, if you don't go out to farm, you will not have what to eat. So like you said, money is attracted to value. We had the agrarian age. We had the industrial revolution came in, where there were companies and industries, and people had to go to school to learn how to work in companies and then earn wages from their work. And we have been living life on that trail. I go to school and I work for someone who pays me, which in itself is not bad. But if wealth is something you want to create for yourself, then you must understand that while studying those who have been able to amass wealth, like I said in my book, I laid down some traits of the richest men today in the world. You will find out that they don't toll that path. That is not the path they toll. Those men are not confined. I talked about it in the book. If you want to create wealth, you don't have to put a confinement around yourself. You have to live in an open world where anything and everything is possible.
So we could say that the level of education that they receive and the level of education that we would receive, because it's a way of thinking, it's a way of interpreting.
It's a way of thinking. It's a way. Most people are thinking one way. It's just one-way traffic. Their eyes are just here. While the wealthy people are looking left, right, center, up, down.
Mm-hmm.
for opportunities.
They take in all the variables into account, and I agree with that. And I ask myself that question: why is my education that was given to me from a little boy growing up into an adult, and a teenager growing up into an adult? Why is my education? It seems to me that my education might be different than those guys' education, because those guys are many generations ahead of me in the way that they interpret and see the world. So am I thinking now that the way that I'm educated must be improved? Because my
Yes,
education
you
has a
should.
lot to do with the way that I interpret the world. Is my education telling me that's the only thing I must do? Go out, work, pay bills, and die, and then wait for the Lord to come, so to speak? Is that
You
how
know,
I am educated?
Robert Kiyosaki will always tell you that in school, they teach you not to make mistakes. And that's why a lot of people, when they come out, they are scared. They don't want to make mistakes because for so many years, we've been programmed not to make mistakes. When you make mistake, the teacher gives you an F. You have to repeat a class. Your friends laugh at you as the dullard. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So when you come out of school, you just want to be safe. You just want to be on that path that, okay, you know that this one, I can see the end. You don't want to toe that lane that it's an endless possibilities. You don't know if you're going to fail. You don't know if you're going to win. You don't know if, as you're going out today, you're going to come back, you're going to make sales in your business. People don't want to be risky. They want to be safe. They want to be safe. So there's nothing wrong with the way we were educated, to the point we're educated. But after school, I usually tell people there is another school after school.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not ready to go to that school, I'm not talking about masters and I'm not talking about PhD. I'm saying outside all the academics, that's the school of life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where personal development comes in, where you learn to deal with your fear, because we all have fear, where you learn how to be courageous, where you learn how to see opportunities and calculate, is this risk worth taking? So beside the education we were given from as little children growing up, there is another kind of education you need to plunge in if you want to make your life if you want to make the most out of your life.
And I totally agree with that. And partly this is one of the reasons why we are having this conversation right now, because the way I phrased it is that thinking critically is very important. And I made a distinct observation, or made a distinct observation about in propaganda and education. Propaganda is telling people what to think, but a true education is teaching individuals how to think. So
Wow.
one of the things that I'm saying, that if we are taught to use the faculties of our mind, like you said, our mind is one of the most powerful tools that we have. And in my book, Purpose Driven, I quoted S.B. Fuller as saying, poverty is a disease of the mind. So if we teach individuals how to think and not what to think, they will take that skill and they will harness it in life. They will take more variables into account when they make a decision. Because the productivity of any state, or the productivity of any business or any institution or any organization, is based on the productivity of the individuals in that state, in that organization, on that business. So, and then I'm left to ask the question, what is the most important faculty or organ in production, in productivity, when it comes to human beings? I know we have all our organs that must work together as a system, but the key to imagination, the key to conscience, the key to self-awareness, the key to independent will comes from the faculty of the mind. So if this is not harnessed properly, and I'm quoting from one of the books that I read, is saying that consciousness has four functions. The four functions of consciousness is thinking, feeling, intuition, and sensation. But thinking critically should always be it is something that we need to take into consideration. And like I said, I find a lot of the things you say is very impressive. And like I said, I interacted with your material a little bit, and I saw you said a man's rich should exceed his grasp, or else what is he living for? So what you would you say having a valuable aim for life, and do you see any merit in having a valuable aim in life? Having a valuable aim, an aim which you must work towards. Do you see that as something? Do you see that as having any merit? Having a valuable aim.
Yes, I do. And I will just ask you a question. If you're not here for something, why did you come here in the first place? I usually tell people when I teach them on the subject of purpose that God did not just get bored in heaven and say, okay, how many human beings are we going to create on the earth today? Okay, 5,000 something. Okay, let's begin to mold them and let's send them. It's not a game. God actually sends human beings here to come and solve problems for us. He saw a problem on the earth, and then he said, okay, I need somebody to bring solutions to the educational sector. I need somebody to provide this invention that is going to give better life to my people. He still loves us. And that is why every single human who is alive today has something tied to their life. It doesn't matter whether you were called to be a pastor, whether you were called to be a comedian. It doesn't matter. You are here for an assignment. You are here to solve a solution. So the earlier you identify what that thing is, or the earlier you give your life to a cause that is going to advance humanity, the better for you. Because what else will you be living for? We didn't just come to this earth to be given birth to go to school, to get married, give birth to our own children, and die. That's a very boring way to live. Jim Rohn said, I would rather not live like that. So the earlier individuals begin to attach themselves to a project, to a cause. Is it human trafficking you're passionate about solving? Is it child molestation? Whatever it is that, energizes you, that you're angry about, please give yourself to it.
Yeah, and that's a main theme. That's a main theme of my book, and the way that I try to articulate it, and a lot of what we're saying, we are left with the problem of bringing those things to individuals in a palatable manner that they can understand. And one of the ways that I try to express that is that living with a valuable aim is very important. And I try to define valuable, a valuable aim. Valuable to me comes to the sense that when you find something that you love to do, it needs to benefit you as an individual. We cannot take out ourselves in the equation. We cannot say, I'm doing this only for these people, because you need to find fulfillment in your life. So it needs to benefit you as an individual. It needs to benefit your family. So what you're doing, it benefits you because that's your family. It must benefit your family. It must benefit your nation, your culture, your society. So it's acting in a way that you act or you interpret life in a way that being is good, and you are here to keep it good, and you are here to make it better if you can. Because sometimes we develop interpretive structures, or we develop the belief systems, or we develop the habits that is destructive to ourselves, that is destructive to our family, that is destructive to society, is destructive to our culture. Understanding, not knowing or not understanding what our culture propagates. So these things are disruptive or destructive to us on every level of analysis, because we live in a community. First of all, the first community we live in is a community unto ourselves, because there is you now, there is you tomorrow, there is you next week, there is you a month down the line. So you are a community unto yourself. So even if you might have selfish tendencies, if you live with that wisdom, you'll be able to go out and to serve. and serving not only yourself and serving your community, serving your present self, your future self, and you behave in a way that keeps those people healthy, and you keep your family healthy, you keep your society thriving, and that in itself gives you a fulfilled experience in life. And I
I
mean,
like the fact that you mentioned family,
mhm,
because it calls my attention to balance. In
mhm,
as much as we want to give out
mhm,
to the society, we should not do that at the expense of our family.
mhm. Yeah, that's very well. So on that topic, I'm going to say, do you think now we have flushed out serving, right? We have flushed out serving is important, and living a life of purpose, which it comes across having meaning in life, and meaning is very important, because living a meaningless life is basically what Viktor Frankl called existential crisis. An existential crisis breeds the existential tirade of depression, aggression, and addiction, and that is, I think, a lot of us suffer with those nihilistic tendencies if we don't have meaning in life, and meaning in life is found in serving a purpose. So my question to you now, do you believe every human being has an inherent gift? Do you believe we're born with something that we could do fairly well without practice or effort, something that's yours, no matter what, you will enjoy doing that, and that makes you feel good by just doing it?
Yes, I belong to that school of thought, although I've heard some people say no to that question. But I would say that no one came here empty. I don't want to believe that. No one came here empty. We all came with something. It's just that people expect it to be like the other person's own. That's why you're not valuing what you have. You know, when it comes to athletes or sports people, you can see what they came with, the energy, the ability to play well. You know, when it comes to musicians, we can all see it. You know, this person can sing well, has a nice voice, can write good songs. But there are other gifts that are not really visible to the eyes, like administrative gifts. Not everybody can be organized to be an administrator. That's a gift. Like caring gift. I had a friend who said she loved to care for old people. And I was like, wow, old people. Yeah, she said yes. And that is what she's going to do. She's going to have an old people's home. Well, that's how she's different from me. That's her own gift, because I can't do that. That's just the truth. I'm just trying to confess here. I don't know if you're understanding what I'm trying to say.
Yep, yep.
That is her gift. It comes natural. She loves to take care of old people. I don't have that kind of gift.
Mhm.
I can speak. I love to give people hope. She doesn't have that kind of gift. So tomorrow she may be looking at herself and say, I don't have any talents. I don't have any gifts, because she's expecting her gift to be singing, dancing, cooking, cleaning, or something, a physical thing that you can see. But there are gifts that are inherent that the world still needs. That's why I said I don't believe anybody came here empty. You have something in you that you can do natural. If that thing comes natural for you, I may spend 5 minutes reading a book. Another person may spend 30 minutes and he's already tired. So some things come natural for me, and also for every other person too. Things that I cannot do that you can do.
Yes, and that school of thought, I know the argument has been going on in that school of thought for a while now.
I
I
still
think.
read something about it yesterday.
Oh,
I watched. Okay, I saw a YouTube video about it yesterday, when someone was saying that don't get hung up with I want to discover my purpose, or I want to find out what I can do. Just go out there and look for anything that excites you and do it. So I'm still making my research.
and on that thought, and that thought, and we can piggyback on that thought. We can investigate that thought. Go out there, find something that excites you. So let's go deep into that. Why would that thing excite you? What is inside of you that make that thing excite you? So that's what I want to. That's where
So
I want.
there's a cord inside you that's attracting that thing.
what? So if anything can attract you and you don't need to go out there and find it, you guys just can stay inside here and just do anything. By the fact that you're saying go out there and find something that attracts you, that means there's that specific thing that is inbuilt inside of you that will attract you. So, I mean, that is a bit paradoxical in itself, and I would like to investigate the thought that would lead down to that track, because it says the same thing. And I am an existentialist thinker, and one of the things that this means is that I don't look at what people say. I look at how people behave. This is a lot more valuable information, because people can just say what they want in their mouth, but then they behave opposite. So somebody can say there is no purpose, but then there is something that they want to go out in the world to teach that there's no purpose. But here you are doing something.
They desire to be significant in their world. They want to make a name for themselves.
Here it is. So while you say that, you're acting it out. You are not coherent. So let's just make yourself coherent and then go ahead and say something that makes being better, instead of trying to use the information to destroy the exact same thing that you're doing. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, and I'm going to specify it a little bit. Persons tend to speak about there is no God, really. You're speaking about this. If you understand what a belief in God is, the act of being able to speak and articulate that in itself alone is already an act that is beyond you as a person. So what is it that you're doing? So I cannot take your words serious. You are just a little confused, and you just need to be aligned properly. Some persons will say you just need to be saved. So that's how I understand it, and it's very interesting. So is there anything that you'd like to ask me, or if there's anything that I'm open to questions as well, if that's okay with you?
Oh, okay. I didn't really plan for any questions. But okay, talking about the fact that they say people should go out there and look for things. I had this client who reached out to me and says today she wants to do a certain thing, and then tomorrow another thing excites her, and before she's into that one 6 months down, and she's bored of that particular one and she wants to launch into something else. So what advice can you give to a person like that? Did you get the question? Today she feels like she wants to be a seamstress. Tomorrow she's tired of sewing clothes and she feels like she wants to own a restaurant. And she opens a restaurant, and tomorrow she's tired of selling food and she feels she wants to go into something else.
Yeah, what I can advise based on that is a phenomenological aspect, a phenomenological question. So what she is doing here, we have to take into consideration her own point of view as an individual. And I'm going to use my story to see how I can find a proper pathway to guide this type of behavior. And I find that question a lot. And one of the things that my journey started with asking, why am I here? I got to the point that I was here, I was living life, but I got to a point that there was no direction. I was just going with the wind. I was just going with what Sigmund Freud called the will to pleasure. Just going with what my fleshly desires would ask for. I would eat, I would wake up and eat, I would just go out and look for fun, go out and look for things that pleasures the physical self. But then there was a knock at the door, and the knock at the door was saying, okay, this seems to be cyclical. So why are you here? What are you really doing? So that question, I thought about that question for months. And what am I here? What am I doing? But then another knock at the door was like, okay, the person that asking, why are you here? Do you know who's that person? I was like, whoa, why am I here? So who's the person asking? So you need to then know, who are you? Just like Socrates, the great philosopher, said, he said it in Greek, gnotis athon, know thyself. Who are you? Who's the you that is asking why are you here? Because in order for you to know why are you here, you need to know who you are.
True.
I mean, somebody cannot treat a guitar as a cricket bat. You need to know that that is a guitar. It is a guitar. That's who it is. So it plays. What does a guitar do? It plays music. So if you don't know that's a guitar, you will use it as a cricket bat. You will use it as other things that it was not used for. So then, when I was asked, "Who are you?" Like, then I wasn't well aligned with a spiritual life, so to speak, or I wasn't aligned with trying to walk with the proper principles that guide life. Because there are principles that guide life, and that's what my search is. That's what this conversation is about. Trying to find the objective principles that guide life. I'm wrestling right now with whether life is just subjective. And I'm wrestling with whether there are objective principles that you need to follow that would guide life and to make life fruitful. So when I realized that, okay, I need to go back to the objective principles and the persons that align the thought of the objective principles, it was God, basically, who said how you must behave as a human being. So I went deep into that because I'm searching. So then, and that makes sense philosophically. Philosophically, it makes sense to, in order to know who you are, you need to know who created you. Because imagine a car. Who do you go for advice if you buy a car? The company,
the manufacturer.
the manufacturer. And the manufacturer probably gave you some books to read or something, and you go back, and you go back to that. So that's the process. And I had persons, I would listen to persons on a lot. I would listen to Miles. I would listen, like you said, Jim Rohn. I love Jim Rohn. I love listening to guys like that. So I was guided along that way. And when I got to, I was like, oh, wow. In order to know, just to know why am I here, I needed to know who I am. And I needed to know where I came from, my source. And then interacting with my source and trying to understand, trying to wrestle, like that biblical character. That's what he signifies, wrestling with God. Jacob, Israel, wrestling with the nature of being, wrestling with understanding, wrestling with those things. I tend to have I tend to align myself with trying to help others to find meaning in life, or trying to bring others to that cup of water, if you want to understand, trying to make persons understand that there is something that is way beyond just materialism. There is something beyond matter that matters more than matter itself. And what matters more than matter itself is what matters. What matter is greater than matter. Because, and persons, I would say that, and persons would tell me, but what do you mean? And then I would have to break it down. You have one car, right?
Okay.
But then later on, somebody gave you 10 cars. You would feel good about the 10 cars that you have. But if you own at least 10 planes and somebody gave you one car, that doesn't matter to you. It doesn't matter. So the material itself, the matter itself, we place meaning and value on those things by making it matter to us. What matter is a lot more better than matter in itself. So what matter shows you that there is an ideal, there is something that matters to you that you need to work towards. And let's say you can just say, okay, what matters to you is being a good person. What does that look like? Okay, taking care of your family. All right, serving in society. All right, you align yourself with those things. So those things matter to you. So you now understand that this is the individual that I have to become for me to align myself with those behaviors. So that individual, that matters. And I will take it a little further and say that I believe that's what Christ was meant to be for us. That ideal that we have to, that matters to us, that's beyond matter in itself. So we have to align ourselves with that ideal, and it pulls us forward. It pulls us up.
Yes, I'm with you. So I think what I've been able to gather from your answer is she has not been looking within. I think so.
Very
right?
much so. Very much so.
Maybe most of what she has been trying and what people are saying she should do try
Exactly.
sewing, try cooking, try this. So,
And
but
probably she see people around her doing it.
the very moment she goes in to find out what she really wants, what really matters above the matter, that's where she's going to find the exact one that she's going to stick with. Because I
Exactly.
wake up every morning and I'm not confused about what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing right now is what I still want to do when I'm 90.
Yeah.
So she needs to go in to check what matters above the matter.
Yeah. And I think we have that speaker in common, Jim Rohn, and he's an American businessman, a self-made millionaire, and he's an author as well. And like you correctly said, in your book is about money. And he said
Yes,
money is usually attracted and not pursued. And
at all.
and attraction, if we understand, is based on value. So how can someone make themselves valuable? And that's questions I ask that question to many persons, because we need to understand, like what you're saying, that uh, value is very important in the attraction of money. So how can somebody make themselves valuable? What do we do to make ourselves valuable so we can
All right.
attract what is necessary?
There are different types of value. People go to school to become learned in a particular craft so that they can have people employ them and pay them wages. That's a kind of value. Because why don't they just go to the streets and pick someone who has not gone to school to come and become a doctor? Of course, that cannot happen because they need the doctor to know his craft and to offer solutions to solve problems in the medical field. And that's why he's being paid that much, because life is valued. So there are other types of value, because we've seen people who did not go to school at all, but they are still making money. So what kind of value are they giving out? So the principle of money, like you said, it comes in offering value. You can either solve a problem for people or you can fulfill their desires. Yeah, you can fulfill their desires. So making money is not just, or having a business is not just about solving problems. Solving problems like educational problems, you can have a school. Food problems, you can have a restaurant. Clothing or clothing problems, you can have a a cloth manufacturing company. But you can also fulfill desires of people, like entertainment. Entertainment is something that sells. Okay, like look at the just concluded Olympic. Do you know how much will have been made by business owners in that environment? Flights, accommodation, and all those things. So if you cannot solve problem, at least make the world a better place for people. Help them fulfill their desires. That's the way money comes to you. You don't chase money. Money is like a pussy cat. It's like a cat. If you keep chasing a cat, you hardly you may not catch it. But if you get something that the cat is attracted to, maybe like a fish, and you put it beside you, only the cat will come back by itself because it's already smelling something you have that it needs. So ask yourself, for people's money to enter your account or your pocket, you need to have something that they need. You have to provide a solution that they are willing to pay for. That's how to make yourself valuable.
All right. And that's, I totally understand that. I totally get that. And it aligns with serving, it aligns with service. It's exactly what you're saying. If I can get you right, you're saying living of service to others. And
Yes.
because if we're going to do something, I mean, we need to take into account all the variables that comes with doing that thing. So if we are going to do something that's important and that's meaningful, and that persons, and like Martin Luther, like, no, it wasn't Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King just echoed that. It was
Okay.
this guy. He's keeping me right now, but what they said was that if you are a good street sweeper, or if you are good
Mhm.
in writing a book, if you are good in making a mousetrap, the world will make a beaten path to your doorstep. So
Mm.
when you find something that you are good at, when you find yourself self-actualization. And that was Maslow's theory of needs, where he said in the bottom is your, and to the top is self-actualization. But I read an article where he was working on another piece called self-transcendence when he passed. So when you find self-actualization, when you find who you are, you find your gift, you find what you have to do, then self-transcendence, you have to now go out there and do it for others. So you actualize. I know what I can do. I know that I'm good at singing. I know I find my message. So am I going to stay home and do it for myself? No, you go out and you serve others. And that's in the psychological plane. And when I'm going to explain a principle, and I'm reading the book Consilience. I'm currently reading this book, Consilience. It's called the unity
Okay.
of it's called the unity of knowledge. And the idea in that book is that if something is true, and it specified the categories of learning. There is natural science, there is social science, and there is the humanism, the humanistic part of learning. So if something aligns in the natural science, and it's aligned in the social science, and it's aligned in the humanistic aspect of learning, like you said, learning life and things like that, which is philosophy, art, religion, if it aligns throughout those three categories of learning, then this thing is true. So as psychologically, Abraham Maslow said, you have to actualize yourself and then self-transcend. But we go into humanism right now, where religion, when the guy spoke to Christ, and then I cannot remember that story clearly, and he asked Christ that, how do I live of service to others? And Christ was like, you live of service to others. How do I become great? And he said, when you live of service to others. I don't know if you remember that story. And this is something else I like. This is another principle that I try to bring out in the book as well. Living of service to others. So there is no way you can become successful by doing the only thing that you want to do. You have to align with the needs of other people. You have to meet the needs of other people. If there is no need for that thing, I mean, if there is a problem, if you're going to solve a problem, that means there is a need. And if you solve the problem, you are satisfying the needs of individuals. You are serving others. You are giving out. You are giving yourself out to something that is beyond you. You are living. You are self-transcending.
Yeah, and let me just quickly add that a lot of people have the different degree to which they want to be rich and successful, all right? So some people, they're just okay if they can feed their family and, they can pay their children's school fees. To them, that's okay. Some people want to be as wealthy as somebody like me. I want to be able to pay the school fees of other people that are not my children. I want to be able to buy houses and give to people to inhabit. So the level to which I'm working towards, it's really a high level. So I just want to say that money follows numbers. It's not enough to serve people. You have to be, it's in relation, or let me say it's directly proportional to the number of people you can serve, or you can solve their problems, or you can fulfill their desires. So like I said from the beginning, everybody has what's the level of which they want to be rich and successful. But if your own level is as high like mine, then you have to serve the numbers, a greater populace. When you look at Facebook, you know how many people are on Facebook, how many people he's serving through that channel. All right. You look at Amazon, you know how many people are there, how many goods and services is operating there. So the rich get rich by numbers.
And that's exactly right. And I read an article on Jeff Bezos. On one of he was a statistician. He was working in a statistical department, and he realized that the internet will boom will grow 200% in the next amount of years. I can't remember exactly. And that's when he decided to sell books online. And I did my own
research.
I did my own research, and I did my own calculations as well. If currently, as it stands, I think it's 2019 or 2020, the world has 7.1 billion individuals. And how many persons would Amazon that has access to Amazon? We have almost like 6 point something billion persons who have access to Amazon. So if you have a product on Amazon that you can reach out to the 6.1 billion individuals on Amazon, imagine if a million of those persons give you 5 EC or 5 US.
That's money.
And that's my idea. That's where I respect the idea of globalization. And how do you feel about? Do you feel that we're moving into a global community? Do you see that is it obvious that this is what's happening, or something else is happening?
Yes, that's exactly what's happening. We already have a currency that we use everywhere, Bitcoin. Everybody's using Bitcoin, whether you're from Nigeria, Caribbean, or wherever. All right. So we are gradually moving there. People are doing business with people they've never met before.
We
People are
having this
giving.
conversation. We having this conversation. The Caribbean to
Yes,
Nigeria.
yes, yes. So yes, the world is moving into a global village. It has moved, not is moving. So the earlier you get yourself involved, the better, the more opportunities. Do not leverage yourself. Tomorrow I can get an invitation to come to the Caribbean live to come and deliver the show. And that's because I met Kevin on Facebook. So, there's so much, endless possibilities, endless.
Yeah, very, very much so. So what's your conceptualization of a fulfilled life? How do you conceptualize? What ideas do you have of a fulfilled life?
Okay, I think most of what we've been talking about too is just around the whole concept of having a fulfilled life. I believe that you've been created for a purpose, and the earlier you fine-tune yourself to walk in that purpose, the better for you, or the more chances you have of saying you have a fulfilled life. I actually love this man. What's his name? I've forgotten his name. I can't believe I've forgotten his name. He's late now. Okay, I'll remember. I'll try to remember his name later. But I actually love to listen to him when he's talking about fulfillment and purpose. Oh God, I can't believe I forgot this man's name. Okay, he said something about being on your deathbed and finding out that you lived a half life, sorry. That is one of the worst things that can ever happen to you, that you never exposed yourself to be all you can be. You never impacted all the lives you could have impacted. You never made the people smile, the people whom you should have made smile. So that's a half lived life, and that's an unfulfilled life. So for me, like I said, it's all wraps around what we've been saying before. There is something that is just beyond the looking at Maslow's law, the shelter, have food for yourself, have a place to sleep. It's not just about that. It's about shining your light in the darkness, because there's so much darkness everywhere. Mm-hmm. So if you can shine your light, and if you can make this world a better place for people, you can't change the whole world, no. But there is a particular field, there is a particular area, there are particular people you can make their lives better than it would have been if you were not there. So to me, walking in that path is living a life of fulfillment.
Yes, and that's perfect. And I'm going to quote one of the guys I like to read, Carl Jung, and he said something akin to exactly what you said. He said the sole purpose of human beings is to shine a light of meaning in the darkness in the world. So it's conceptualize the world as some place that is dark, and you are the light, and you have to get yourself and you have to get yourself
marriage. Okay, look at the way marriage is drifting. A lot of divorce, a lot of pain, Somebody out there has the solution. Why are you hindering us from having what you have inside of you?
And that is also true biologically, because research has shown that when persons to go out into new environments, and we have neurons, we have cells and genes inside of us, that it gets only turned on when you have a new experience, because our neurophysiological aspects are our neurons, and it's almost like when you do something for the first time, you're bad at it. Like it was said, the fool The fool is the precursor to the hero. The fool is a precursor to the savior. And that happens, that is so fundamental. It happens all the time. Like, for example, if you're learning how to ride a bike, and the first time you learn how to ride a bike, that's the first connections you have with those neurons that's supposed to fire for you to ride the bike properly. So the firing is weak. The electrical impulses of those neurons, they get weak. They are weak because that's the first time you're trying it. But with practice, with persistence, with desire, you keep doing it. You keep doing it, and you continue. You do it continuously, and when you do it continuously, you strengthen the neuron pathways, the pathways that fires for that to work. So now you turn on these things, and then it becomes part of you. It's just like learning how to drive
consciously.
Yes, you do it, you learn it consciously, and then you send it down to your subconscious, and it's just part of you now. It's a skill. You build that skill. You develop that skill. So it's not just something that we say philosophically or something that we say biblically. There is, and those are the things. Those are the things that I like. Things that you find natural science can actually explain those things down to the level of the cell. So believing in it has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with believing at this point. It's just find those things and application, because it's there. It happens. We proved it. We proved it. We proved it biologically. We proved it philosophically. We proved it psychologically. We prove it on all level of analysis. We prove it in
spirit. So what are you waiting for?
we prove it. We prove it. Scripture. It's in the scripture. If you are aware, if you have an ethical preposition, I mean, we go to the good books. That is the good book that says, okay, if you behave that way, you are aligned ethically. It is agreed in there. So why are we still so stagnant? I just don't understand it.
Okay, I think the network broke at a point.
Yeah. So my final question to you is, how influential are past events in somebody's life?
Whoa! To the degree you give it so much influence.
I agree. So it's short and sweet. I like that. I like the answer to
the
that question.
To the degree you give it so much influence.
Perfect.
Except you want me to throw more light.
I will keep that part. I will keep that part. I will copyright that part. All right. So I just want you to tell the fans, the persons, the viewers listening about your book, where to find your book, and tell them something that you want them to know about yourself. And
the first thing I want to say is I love you all. Thank you for having me on the show. If you stayed up to this point listening, it means you really want more for your life. And I just want to send you some kisses from here. All right. Thank you very much. So the final thing I just want to say is that I said I was going to share some 5 rules. All right. Life is a game. If you understand the rules, you will stand better chance to know how to play well. So number 1 is yourself. I think Mr. Kevin mentioned that at the beginning. You really need to put yourself under the microscope and try to find out, who is this person? What is she or he made up of? What can she or he do? What are the heights that I can get to? You know, a lot of people know so much about every other thing except themselves. You go to school, you study about every other thing except yourself. And the most important factor in succeeding in life is you. You. So the earlier you begin to study who you are and begin to understand how far you can go, begin to use your capabilities, the better for you. Number 2, after studying who you are, you need to set goals for your life. You need to know where you want to be. You can't just be existing like that and expect that things will happen on their own. Pastor Chris Oyakilome will tell you that most times it's the things we don't want that come on their own. For example, take weed as an example. A farmer knows that a soil doesn't have to be fertile. You don't have to water the ground. You don't have to put the sun. Weeds grow on their own and they are unwanted. So if you don't plan your life is just going to go on autopilot and it's going to take you to maybe where you don't want to be. Because it's really difficult to just land at a future you didn't design, an enviable future. You just woke up and all of a sudden you're a millionaire. It hardly happens, except those who win the lottery. And most of them, they lose the money in a few time. All right. So you have to plan your life. What do I want for myself? You set goals, have visions. All right. And then number 3, you have plans to actualize that goal, because it's not just enough to be a dreamer. All right. A lot of people have ideas. People will tell you, I had the idea to do something similar like Mark Zuckerberg did, to have a chat where people can chat all over the world, but you never did it. And that's why we don't know your name. That's why the only name that is ringing in our ears is the name Mark Zuckerberg, because he was the one that took his idea, was persistent enough. That's the 4th point. You have to be persistent. All right. Good things don't just come like that. It takes time. It takes time. Just understand that it has already happened in the spiritual. It's just waiting for physical manifestation. And for physical manifestation, you can't cut corners. It's just like a woman who is pregnant. The day she gets pregnant is not the day she gives birth. She has to grow that baby in her womb. If you blow prematurely, you will go down. That's why I talked about the lottery winners. They have little education about financial intelligence, and that's why they lose their money as fast as they make it. So the 4th point is you have to be persistent. After having a plan, follow that plan. Even when you don't see like results are coming, just be sure that you're doing the right things. And then the last point is your association. You cannot grow beyond the level of who you surround around yourself. An association is divided into 2. Number 1, the people you impact and the people that impact you. So if you can have these 5 things in place, I have this principle every single day. I listen to people that speak to my life. That's what I do. Towards the end, when I want to go to bed, that's the last thing I do. I listen because these things are building me up. I listen to Oprah Winfrey. I listen to Tony Robbins. These are people I want to be like. So I make sure that every single day I come in contact with them. You also have your role models that you want to be like, whether it's in music, whether it's in the fashion industry. Locate those people and associate yourself with them as often as you can. So that'll be all, Mr. Kelvin.
Thank you very much. I really enjoy this conversation with you. It was very uplifting to me personally, and I must compliment you on your wealth of knowledge and understanding.
Yes, you said something about my book. All right, because I'm coming to the Caribbean market for the first time. I want to give you a 30% discount on the book. So if anybody wants to find out why you're not making enough money, my book is going to be explaining that concept to you. I'm going to be showing you a lot of things to do, all right, to begin to play the money game very well from now henceforth. So it doesn't matter if you're working, it doesn't matter if you're a student, you can make money, all right? So anybody from the Caribbean market who wants to order a copy of God is Sharing Money, learn how to collect your own ATM, your own is it debit card right now, and
yes,
then learn how to withdraw money. If you want to order a copy of the book, because of Mr. Kevin, I'm willing to take off 30% off the price of the book.
All right. Thank you very much for speaking with me.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.